Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Star Trek New Worlds. My name is Tony. Thank you for joining us here live at 11 o'clock Pacific time on Saturday. If you're catching us on the replay, then thank you for taking the time. If you're brand new here and don't know what is going on, this is Star Trek New Worlds, a turn-based strategy game that we play online here with you on Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook Live, and we play it using the rule set of Federation and Empire as published by the Amarillo Design Bureau. The map you will see here shortly is populated through the magic of Vassal, and of course the community is all of you. Welcome to Dr. Death 43. Oh yeah, our latest subscriber. Thank you so much. If you also enjoy things sci-fi, Star Trek, and of course wargaming and turn-based strategy, then you may consider hitting that subscribe button and of course the thumbs up, as the case may be. Ooh, but without further ado, without too much excitement, well, without too much excitement, with all the excitement, I am super pumped about today's episode. We are going to be talking about capital assaults, and I'll give you a quick update on how the turn is going, but the headline news is it's not done yet. We've got so much conflict, so many battles, so much phaser fire happening that we still need to resolve. And we'll talk about it here in a moment as to process and how we do that and the steps that go into it and all that craziness. But let me give you a little something to tantalize, to wet your whistle, to get things going as we jump into the galactic news. Oh, is this what I think it is? Yes, it is. It is the galactic news. Guess who's coming to dinner? The fortunes of war continue to swing wildly. This time, the Romulans. It is the Romulans who are defending their homeworld from an invading Klingon armada. After conducting protracted delaying operations on the outskirts of the Romulan system, Romulan forces fell back to a defensive line. The first planet under assault in the Battle of Romulus was Dorona 3. Reports are flooding in that despite concerted efforts by the Romulan fleet, bombs are falling on the world and several defensive installations have been destroyed. Stay tuned for updates from the field. Future-proofing. Carnivon forces intercepted a strange temporal anomaly that ended up being a highly advanced warship carrying a new type of attack craft. While it was only a single cruiser-sized ship, these new attack craft gave it the firepower of a dreadnought. It took a sizable fleet to bring down this ship quickly. Carnivon technicians and science teams are busy analyzing this strange vessel. Where did it come from, and will it return? Hither and Yon. The independent world of Yon was assaulted by Reman forces. Rykon fleet moved to crush the tiny state, but strong static defenses and some hubris on the part of a Reman high command resulted in the total destruction of the invading Reman fleet. While the planet's fleet and defense installations were mauled by the attack, Yon still stands proud and free. Battle on the fringe. Gorn forces have moved to assault what appears to be a juggernaut base at the far edge of the galaxy. This base has been reported to be the source of the mysterious raider ships. Sensor scans shared by the Gorn exclusively with Galaxy Today, reporters now show nanite swarms retrofitting old freighters into Erstats warships. I'm probably mispronouncing that. But the Gorn have decided that enough is enough and dispatched a fleet to squash both the raider ships and the juggernaut interference. Their fleet was repulsed, but with heavy losses to the raiders. What response will this provoke is anyone's guess. And that has been the Galactic News. Oh, so exciting, delighting. I'm very interested to see how this is going to go. Let's jump into the chat, say hello to our dynamic chat participants. Hello, everybody. Going to the top, we've got Bill Smith. Hey, go. Devin. Devin is here. Devin Dean. We've got Eugene, our persistent, consistent press agent, Eugene. It's going to be an interesting day, he says. Daniel, pew, pew, pew. And the Tony Dance is back. Yes, yes. You Can't Be Petty is here in full effect and stereo sound. Hello. And that is those of you who are joining us now. We are at the double digits. I am showing 10, although we had 11 moments ago, concurrent viewers. So thank you for taking us to double digits right off the start. All right, let's talk about, that is not the button I was looking for. Let's talk about what is going on with this game. So prior to starting today's episode, we were in heated debate on our Discord channel about the state of affairs and how we're running the game. If you are so inclined to be interested in those chit-chats, those witty, bitter banters, and the back and forth camaraderie that happens on Discord, then you can feel free to head over to coffee.com and you can join us there on our Discord channel on one of our coffee tiers. But we were discussing the state of a capital assault because although this is not by any means the first capital assault in this game, prior to this series of events, the ISC and Reman alliance, hoorah, attacked the Hydran capital. However, that specific capital assault was very different because as opposed to it being a long drawn-out siege, the Hydran forces in that example essentially withdrew or retreated from their capital hex, leaving it to the repercussions of a Reman and ISC throttling. So there was very little resistance in that particular assault. This example between the Klingons and the Romulans is very different. We have a rather profound and substantial defense being set up by the Romulans. And so we're going to talk about sort of like the logistics of how we sort of handle it as sort of what we're thinking about right now. We'll go through the rules and show exactly what it says in the rules about how this goes forward with regards to capital assaults. And we'll discuss with you as far as how or what suggestions you might have as to how we might move this forward in the future. Couple of things to talk about constraints before we get going is that fundamentally we are constrained in how we play the game. So normally Federation Empire is a tabletop board game that you are playing in real time with players on the other side of the table, rolling dice with the plastic hitting the table. But this game that we're playing here with you now is all virtual. It's done at a distance. And with different time zones from Australia to the UK to North America, we've got people across the globe playing this game. So in that context, with those kind of constraints, how do we play a game that is normally resolved in real time with in situ responses and or adaptations to how you're going to fight? How do we do that in a way that allows the players to do what they want to do and give them a fair chance at being able to, in this context, attack or defend, as the case may be, their capital? Well, let's get into it as far as understanding what is involved in a capital. Whoa, 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 whoa. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you just didn't realize what happened, that was a coffee firing, a disruptor bolt of goodness that was just slam-basted my way. You too could do the same thing if you head over to that coffee.com and hit the button that sends a coffee donation our way. That was from the Juggernauts, the AI swarm. The nanites are coming for the caffeinated goodness. Let me take a quick sip and say thank you to our Juggernaut overlords. Because it's only through the magic of that caffeine bean that we're able to stay motivated, energized, and moving forward through the craziness that is this YouTube online live streaming world. Okay, let's jump into what is, let me get rid of that screen. Let's get into what is the procedure for capital assaults. All right, so there's a little bit of music playing in the background. You let me know if it's too much. I will lower the volume ever so slightly. Okay, so here we are. What are you looking at? You are looking at a part of the PDF version of the rules for Federation and Empire. We've said this before more than a couple times, that the rules in this game are Bible-esque in their size and scope. The good news is, though, when you take a look at these rules, you'll notice the numbering system. And that means that if you find a rule and you need to reference it, you can go right to the number and it's easy to find. Now, generally speaking, they are broken down into sections, i.e. based on the number. So you can see here 511.5 is the procedure for capital assaults. I won't go through it word by word with you here. Certainly you can, if you have copies of this rule set, you can do that yourself. But I'll give you the quick rundown of how this goes. So essentially, the attacking force, in this case the Klingons, attacks the defending force at their homeworld. In our game, homeworlds are 3-planet systems, meaning we have the homeworld capital system and 2 supporting or ancillary other planets in the system. If we go to the map here, and I will pop this up here real quick for you, you can see as I zoom in, boop, you can see here I will pull up the Romulan capital system, and here you go. You can see that there are 3 planets in this system. The capital system right here, Sondal, which is a minor planet, and then Drona 3. So I scratch my eye here real quick. Now you can see here, this is the distribution of static defenses, or I should say fixed defensive. You've got planetary ground bases of the Y or early era variety and the more modern middle era variety here. You've got bases, a YDK and a YDK under construction or upgrade here at Sondal. And then of course you've just got the bases here at Drenua. The difference here, you can see that the Y PGB is a 1 attack 2 defense unit. So essentially you look at the attack factor to see how many of these bad boys there are. There's 4 here. PGBs are a 3-3 unit. So with 6, by example, you've got 2 of them. With 33, it's 11, and so on. So that's sort of the map that we're looking at in this context. So how this starts off is that you have the attacking force, and the attacking force goes into the hex. The defender then needs to take their entire defensive fleet and split it into 2. This splitting of the 2 fleets needs to be done as equally as possible based on 2 factors. One, the size of the ship, i.e. like a dreadnought is a size class bigger than a heavy cruiser, by example, size class 2 versus size class 3. And you're dividing those into 2 separate categories with as equal classification or size class of ships, and equally divided into 2 categories. So you divide those 2 equal groups of ships into Group A and Group B. Group A is your static defense group, and you can place those as you wish as the defender on any 3 of all 3, I should say, of the defending planets. So generally speaking, you divide that equally as possible. And we'll make reference to the rule here in that context. So the defending player, this is step 3, which is 511.53. The defending player divides his remaining ships in half. This is done on a type by type basis. 1 frigate to each half, 1 CVS to each half, etc. And must be divided as evenly as possible based on the number of ships first and the combat strength second. Combat value of the 2 groups must be as equal as possible. Any odd ship points can be distributed by the defender. So if you're a little off, the defender gets to make that choice. Ships crippled during the combat round of the current turn in the capital are taken from the designated static and mobile forces, that's Group A and Group B, and added to a cripple and let's try that again, and added to the crippled ships pool designated in this step. So you have a pool of ships that are being repaired at your sort of repair facility, which usually is the capital planet. All the bases, so then now we're on to 511.533, If all the bases and PDUs in the Hex have been destroyed and all the planets have been devastated, all static ships are transferred to the mobile fleet element, which is what you've got remaining, and the attacker may send attack forces to one or more of the planets, and the defender has to decide which planet they're going to go to. Step 4. The defending player then takes his static fleet and deploys it in the boxes or in the different planets, and can divide the ships or put them all in one system. So they get to decide how they distribute those ships. Each ship or group can only be in one system, so you're dividing it into each system, and these units cannot leave the system they are deployed in. If they do, they must retreat from the capital Hex if they can. So essentially, once the static ships are in place, they can't leave and go to another planet. They can't fall back. Those ships in the static defense, they're either destroyed, or if they retreat, they leave the Hex that they're in. So that's very important to note, because once you divide that group into 3 and then have to distribute it, when they fall back, they leave the Hex. They retreat completely, and that's an advantage essentially for the attacker. The individual defending ships and groups can retreat from the capital Hex. This is an exception, which requires a simultaneous withdrawal of all forces, but they must all go to the same Hex. That's a same rule for everything else. So step 5, once you've assessed all the static ships, so you've got my group A, which is my static defense, is divided to all 3 planets, then the attacking player organizes, this is step 5, organizes one battle force for each system he or she will attack. The attacker is not required to attack every system, meaning you can focus all your stuff against one planet, or 2, not all 3, as the case may be. These ships are deployed in the third box of each row, not to worry about that. The attacking player then designates which planet within the system they are attacking. Only the bases and PDUs assigned to that planet can be attacked by directed damage, meaning that each planet is its own little pocket battle, and you can't try and damage other ships in other places, as the case may be. Important to note, the attacker cannot select a planet which was devastated in the current turn, unless the planet was the attacker cannot select a planet which was devastated on the current turn unless that planet has crippled ships or other units assigned to it, which must be in the battle force, or unless there are no planets which meet the above conditions in the Hex. So, as you can tell, these things can be kind of wordy and can get quite involved. So, essentially what we're describing is you've got the defender has 2 groups. One is in place. One is a floater fleet that can respond, or a quick response team that can respond to wherever the fights are occurring. And then the attacker attacks picks where they are going to attack. Once they pick where they're going to attack, we go to step 6, where the defending player deploys that quick response team or that floater fleet, placing them wherever they want to go. Then each system where a battle is occurring has their battle or combat round resolved. One combat round at a time. This is where things get tricky when it comes to running this game. Once you do that combat round and it's done, then you go to step 8, which is the final step of this sequence, where once each combat round is resolved, assuming the attacker wants to attack again, the defending player removes all those floater fleet ships and then can redistribute them, or removes those floater fleet ships, allowing him to reorganize for the next round, and then the attacking player does likewise, and then they pick where they're going to go. And they fluctuate, or they cycle through step 5 and 8 in this sequence, whereby the floater fleet sort of gets reorganized, the attacking fleet gets reorganized, and you figure out where you're going to attack next. And this is where the nut comes into play, because we've got this challenge where we're doing this over distance, we're doing this out of different time zones, and we're communicating these orders or my instructions on how I'm going to fight via email, which, as you can imagine, has a bit of a time delay. And so I'll send you orders, the defending player will send the GM orders, and then we have to decide how this is going to get resolved. oh boy, that's exciting and delighting, isn't it? As opposed to doing it in real time where you can do this stuff on the fly. So as we were brainstorming in our Discord channel, again, understanding this is the first time a planetary capital assault has occurred like this. Previous capital assaults were essentially one-offs in the sense that the attacking fleet showed up, the defending fleets retreated, and the battle was fairly simple to resolve. This one, because of the numbers of units involved, like the defending fleet is significant. It's just look at the static stuff here. On the capital home system, we've got 33 PGBs. That's insane. Plus a YDK, plus another 6 Y PGBs. And then, of course, that sort of breaks down as you go to the other planets. As well, there is a fleet of ships in defending this capital hex that are not small. Almost the same number as the attacking ships, and there's over 30 ships attacking the homeworld. So how do we manage this going forward? How do we resolve this going forward? And how do we figure out a way to make this work? The couple of things that have been discussed up to this point, and I want to know what you think about how we should progress. One option was to do it all in real time, meaning that because we can all interact in real time using Discord. We can show you the map. I can see the map. We can all see what's going on. We can go on a live stream or like live video chat room, and we can all go through the battle as we need to in real time. If you're in the same time zone, that's no problem. But if you're in the UK and you're fighting somebody in Australia, that could be a problem. Finding the time to be able to do it and lining up those times in those different time zones to make that work, that could be a challenge. But based on what we described in step 8, that cycling between step 5 to step 8, after each combat round, if I need to stop, reassess, and redraw the battle or refigure out how that battle is going to go, that's going to take forever. It'll take a month or more to resolve a capital assault of this scale. Because essentially, by example, you could have the first attack happen on one planet. The second attack happened to all 3 planets. The third attack or third combat round happened to only 2 planets, and so on and so forth. We could spread this out in so many different ways. That isn't going to work. So for the purposes of this game, how are we going to move forward? Well, as we discussed it, as we described it, the current thinking about how we're going to walk through the rest of this particular campaign is we're going to resolve one planet essentially at a time. So I, for example, as the Klingons attacking the Romulans, am going to attack one planet, and in that one planetary attack, we'll go through the entire combat as if I was taking out that planet. If I wanted to, spread out the attack on all 3 planets, that's fine, but I would resolve one planet at a time, meaning that attack force number 1 would attack Druana. Attack force number 2 would attack Sondal. Attack force number 3 would attack Romulus, and so on. But essentially, each battle, we're going to write the orders and all the instructions for the entire battle in one planet, and do that as one battle, as if I were attacking a YDK or a base or another single planet or whatever the case is. That's how we're going to resolve it as best as we can, and see how that goes going forward. Now, a couple of things to think about when it comes to capital or these multi-planetary systems versus just a normal planet or a YBS or something like that. If I were to win the Druana 3 battle and wipe out and devastate the planet, I can't hold the planet and stay in the hex. Because on this map, each hex is, for example, right now, this is a battle hex. The battle hex needs to be resolved. I can't have ships sitting in that hex and the Romulans having ships on the other 2 planets. That doesn't work. So even though I might come in and destroy everything in Druana 3, I will have to retreat from the capital hex if I'm not going to take all 3 planets in that single assault, if that makes sense. This is not a perfect solution. it is the best that we can come up with right now. And certainly as we go forward in the next campaign, whenever that is, we'll have to troubleshoot and figure out a way to tweak, adjust, amend the rules in such a way that allows us to be more, to make this a better way of managing these combats or this kind of conflict. Because keeping in mind, like, when you're in a position, when your capital is getting assaulted, that potentially could be this sort of the end of the game for you. So do we want to lean towards giving the defender the benefit of the doubt and sort of the best advantage? Maybe. Do we want to create a situation, especially with the way we have the game right now, with war turns and exhaustion and sort of the toll or the cost of staying at war, and not allowing or not creating a situation where players can use it as a weapon against another player? Maybe. Long story short, this is a very complicated and sort of layered way to sort this out, but there's a lot going on here. So let me ask you, if you are a player who's played Federation and Empire, or even SFB, or any of the Amarillo Design Bureau games, and you're a fan of Star Trek and strategy games in general, and you've played other systems, what do you suggest in this situation? What do you think would make this better in another version or another campaign? How could we tweak the rules or adjust what we're doing in such a way to make the player experience faster, more effective, seamless, and fun for everyone involved, including the GM, who has to deal with all the headaches of managing all this business going back and forth? Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. So with all that said, let me jump into the chat real quick because I can see. Oh, hold on. Here we go. Daniel says, Homeworld Assaults are a big event, as they should be. And Bill says, yeah, boy, you can't be petty. I'm all about the capital battles via live stream. That's an interesting option. If we were going to do battle resolutions, would we record it and show it all to you? Not everyone loves being on camera. Not everyone loves or even has the technical stuff to be able to do this in that way. But maybe we like broadcast what we're doing on Discord or something along those lines. We could maybe look into doing that. We'll have to see. But there's different ways that we could go forward with this in that way. Let's take a second here and look at the map and see where we're at, keeping in mind this is a half-baked cake, and by no means is the turn complete by any means. So let's take a quick look. All right, so this is the map we were looking at even just moments ago, and you can see here you've got Klingon forces attacking the home system. So let me just show you what all the Klingon forces are involved. We've got Emperor Fleet, which is, here we are. So this is Emperor Fleet. Some of the approach battle has already been conducted, and with the approach battle, the damage has already been distributed to the different units involved. We've got the logistics squadron, I believe. Yep. Logistics squadron, and who else was there? There's South, I believe. South Fleet. Yeah. Okay, so Klingon South Fleet. So keeping in mind at this point, it looks as though battle damage has been distributed for the first round of combat, and I will show you what that looks like here in a moment. And then let's look at the Romulan fleet. So they've got, of course, I can't see it. 3rd Legion, Romulan. So let's pull up the capital again, of course. And then we've got Romulan 3rd Legion. There we are. And here, I'll just move this out of the way just so I can see what's here. We got 3rd Legion Expeditionary Home Fleet. So Romulan Home Fleet. And Expeditionary Fleet. All right. We'll move this up a little bit. Whoop. And as always, Vassal is a joy to use in this context. Okay, so essentially we've got these visually. You can see here, this is kind of what we got going on when it comes to the attack. This is the Romulan defending force, and there's a couple of other units in here, and then this one. So maybe the easiest way to look at this would be, hold on, I will pull up the, I will pull up the battle and show you the ships that are distributed and where they are. Of course, it's taking me forever to find it. There we are. Okay. Because, of course, we all want to see my email. All right, so this is the Homeworld Assault. Oh, my goodness. Let's get that out of there. Okay. Of course, this is just an exciting live stream moment where we're just seeing craziness. Let me put it another way. Okay. I'm going to put this in a Word document so it's a little bit easier to see. Hot mess. Always exciting. Let's try this one more time. Okay. Oh, goodness. That's not what I was looking for. All right. Let's zoom out. Okay, so the Klingon forces that are involved in this fight are 2 C6s, which are the dreadnoughts. They are 10, 12 units. You got a TGAM, with 2 battle pods, which effectively makes it an 11 attack, 12 defense ship. You've got a D7C, which is the command variant of the D7M. It is a straight 9 attack, 9 defense. 3 D7Ms, which are 8-7 ships, 8 attack, 7 defense. 3 D6Ls, which are sort of like the command ship version of the D6. They are a 8 attack, 9 defense ship. This is a slight error. There are actually 2 of these ships, 2 D6EMs. They are 6 attack, 7 defense, and they have EW. They can produce as much as 2 points of EW at maximum effectiveness. We have 2 F5Cs, which are a 5-6 ship, 3 F5Ms, which are straight 4s, 4 attack, 4 defense, an F5SM, which is, I believe, a 2 attack, 4 defense ship, and it's EW, 1 point of EW, and then 18 E4Ms, which are 4 attack, 3 defense ships. Defending, we have from the Romulan forces 4 VULMs. That's their dreadnought, 10 command factors. They have 8 attack, 10 defense. We have 8 KEMs, which are 5 attack, 8 defense command cruisers. And they have 2 of them that are crippled. And when they're crippled, they're 3-4. We have a QEM, which is the non-command ship variant of the heavy cruiser. So instead of the King Eagle, it's the Queen Eagle, and it is a 5 attack, 7 defense ship. And same cripple value when they are crippled. 3 of them at 3-4, I believe. 3-4, yeah. YFLs, or YFALs, excuse me. Those are Falcons. Those are Maulers, Y-era Maulers. They are a 7 attack, 7 defense ship, and they have directed damage or Mauler capability. We have a War Eagle, which is sort of we'll call it the light cruiser, although it's technically a cruiser hull. It's crippled. And we have an FE, which is a tug, 2-6 ship. 2 Pelican Eagles, which are survey ships. They also have some EW capability. They are 2-6s. A Scout Eagle, which is a full scout ship. That also has a 2-6. 14 Battlehawks, which are a 4-5 ship, 4 attack, 5 defense. An SNM, which is 3 attack, 4 defense. That's a frigate, basically. The Battlehawks are like destroyers. A YFEL, it is a exploration large freighter, no attack, 4 defense. 5 prime teams, 1 injured, and of course there's a Carnarvon R&D team and a Klingon R&D team there. On the different planets, we have, as we showed you on the map, a YDK and YDK on the homeworld, a YBS upgrading to a YDK on the second planet, and no bases on the third planet. But there are planetary ground bases on all 3, and Romulus has a total of 11 of the top end planetary ground bases That's exciting. So to give you a sense of how this resolved, I'm trying to find there is a email that shows the distribution of where the defenses were. And it would seem that I can't find it in the moment here. Oh, here we go. Romulan static defenses. Okay. So let me show you when the Romulans picked where they were going to put their stuff, the static defense piece, they did the following, and I'll show it to you here in a sec. All right. There we go. Boom. Okay. So this up top here is the quote-unquote floater fleet. That's the mobile fleet that can respond to any of the 3 planets. 2 of their dreadnoughts, which are the Vulcans, 4 of their command cruisers, the King Eagles, a Queen Eagle, 1 of their crippled Falcons. I should say there was an approach battle before entering the system, and in the approach battle, some damage was taken and dealt. And for example, the both Falcons were crippled, and of course the Klingons took some damage as well. But you'll see that here in a moment. So this is a floater fleet. Again, crippled Falcon, 3 Battlehawks, which are those destroyers, 4 crippled ones, 2 prime teams, and their frigate, the snipe frigate. For fixed defenses on Romulus, their home, like their capital planet, they have the YDK, the YPGBs, and the PGBs, but also they have 1 dreadnought, 1 command cruiser, 1 crippled, 1 heavy cruiser, 2 crippled Battlehawks, and 1 crippled Falcon. Now this is the heaviest, the heavy duty defense, because not only do you have the YDK, but those planetary ground bases are 3 attack, 3 defense each, which means for 11 of them, just the PGBs is 33 attack and defense. That's crazy. On the second planet, you have the YBS being upgraded to the YDK, 4 Y planetary ground bases, 2 planetary ground bases, so 2 of the 3 3s, 4 of the 1 2s, and then a prime team, another dreadnought, a Pelican Eagle, which has some EW, 2 command cruisers, 2 cruisers crippled, 2 destroyers, and then 1 crippled destroyer. And then on the smallest planet here, 4 planetary ground bases, Y planetary ground bases, 1 Scout Eagle, the survey freighter, a command cruiser, a crippled command cruiser, a Battlehawk, and a crippled Battlehawk. So based on what you see here, the Klingons attacked Druana 3 in their first assault. And in that first assault, these were, and this is only round 1. So in 1 round of combat, this is what happened. Boom. So the Klingons had 5 E4Ms crippled, and the Romulans had 2 YPGBs, and I'll mention this as we go through this. So in 1 round of combat, I damaged 2 YPGBs. 1 Battlehawk was crippled. 1 YFEL was destroyed because it doesn't have a crippled status. Once it takes 4 damage, it's done. And then there are 2 minus points left over. The PGBs, and I learned this doing it, which was interesting, is that the PGBs, whereas before if you do directed damage on a YBS or a YDK or some kind of base station, you have to do basically 4-to-1 damage to damage the base, meaning you roll into attacking the base, and in order to do a point of damage, you need to do not 2-to-1, which is normal directed damage, or 3-to-1, which is the normal formation bonus, but 4-to-1 if you're doing directed damage on the base. Okay. I didn't think that was necessarily something that was going to happen for planetary ground bases, and that it would be just 2-to-1. No. I was wrong. And we can quote the rule here, but we've already dove deep into the rules here a bit. But essentially, when you're attacking planetary ground bases in a focused, directed damage way, it's 4-1 as well. So the YPGBs are 1 attack, 2 defense, and if I'm doing directed damage on them, 4-1 means 8 points of damage per YPGB destroyed. Crazy. So I did 16 points of directed damage to destroy just 2 YPGBs, and then, of course, the rest of the damage was distributed normally, and that is crazy. Now, I wasn't aware of that. I didn't think that it applied to PGBs, only to bases, space-based bases. So that's an interesting sort of lesson learned for me. And that is one of the interesting things about the rules when it comes to this game. They're relatively simple and easy to understand. There's just so many of them. So many rules all over the place. It's hard to keep track. And so, being able to understand all the rules, be aware of all the rules, and like keep track of all the rules is an art in itself. And I have nothing but praise for our wonderful GM who does that and keeps on track of these rules and puts them into effect. So, lesson learned for me. But as we discussed, that was one cycle of going from a step 5 to step 8 in the Capital Assault series of events, and now we're going back to step 5. So we're going to reorganize that. But we had this discussion after doing this one round battle, because according to those rules, now we have to reassess and figure out what we're going to do, attacker and defender alike. So we're going to move forward with just organizing the battle as if it was on one base, like I discussed before. So I'm going to put in my instructions for the attack on Drona 3. The defender will put his instructions in for the defense of Drona 3, and we'll just resolve Drona 3, and that'll be done. And then once one of us, it'll be the Klingons retreating, because I can't hold on to that planet once I take it, by example. So I'll have to retreat out of the hex, sort of consolidate, and then attack again the next turn, kind of thing, because that's the only way that's going to work based on how layered it is with the defenses. And I know it's complicated and it's crazy and it's, oh my goodness gracious. Let's just get back to the chat. I know that was a lot of this and a little heady. So I apologize for how deep that is, or how much we dive into that. But that gives you a sense of like how much stuff we got to discuss when it comes to this game. How can we streamline it? How can we make it easier, simple, faster, more fun, and just, more exciting for all of us to play? Have you played a game like Risk, where it's basically like super simple and easy, and how complicated Risk can get, versus something like Axis and Allies, which Axis and Allies is a much more complicated game than Risk. Still fun to play and still relatively simple. I would say Federation and Empire, by comparison, is another level on top of Axis and Allies on how complicated and ridiculous it is, and so on and so forth. And without there being a computer program in place to handle all these caveats and all these issues and identify all the rules that you may have to deal with, oh my God, it can be very complicated. And it's very easy to miss things. And it's very easy to do things in a weird way. Or maybe not exactly as the rules are intended, until someone reminds you that, oh, this rule is in effect, or this rule applies here, and this, and this, and this, and this. And the only way as a player that you learn about this stuff is by playing it and learning it, as I personally illustrated with my targeted directed damage against the YPGBs, because I didn't even know that it was going to be 4-1. I assumed 2-1, and I did all my mathing around that, like my calculations about how well I was going to fight that battle, and so on and so forth. Bah. So much. All right, let's talk about the chat. Jumping back into the chitter chat. Right. Somewhere here, there's a chat box. There it is. Hi, how are you doing? You can't be petty. I would be okay with an edited video showing the capital battle. Okay. Okay, let's think about that. Bill Smith says, hey, Daniel, do you want to add all PGB stats, or do they have to be divided up into the battle round? Daniel says, all ground bases are combined into a single unit. Oh, that's something else to think about. as was discovered in the rules. So planetary ground bases produce 1 point of EW, electronic warfare. We've talked about electronic warfare. It's in one of the tutorial videos. If you haven't already seen it, then please head down to the pre-recorded videos in the playlist on tutorials, and you'll see that there. In the combat tutorial, there is a bonus section on EW. And so it produces 1 point of EW, the planetary ground bases do. Now, previous to now, there had been a question mark as to how much EW they can produce. By example, we've never had, to my knowledge, in this game or any previous game that I've played, enough planetary ground bases that there would be anything more than like a handful of EW points that would be added, i.e. we didn't have 11 planetary ground bases in any one particular battle. So if there were 11 planetary ground bases, how much EW would that produce? Well, the answer is there is a maximum amount that can be contributed, and that maximum number is 4. Planetary ground bases can only ever contribute a maximum of 4 EW to any combat round. Now, of course, if you have 11 of them and you take out 4 of them, you still have 7 left. So you're good. But as the case was here with the Druana, there were 4 planetary ground bases. They produced 1 point of EW each. They produced 4 points of EW. There was also a scout on the Romulan side. So I think it was 6 points of EW was the total amount generated. If you look at the Newt table in the rules, that would provide you with a 2 EW shift, meaning that if you rolled a 6, it would be taken down to a 4. If you rolled a 1, it would go down a couple of burr to a different level. So it would be a 2-point EW shift as opposed to a 1. However, the Klingons had a 2 EW point generating unit in their scout box, which brought it down to a difference of 4, which is a 1 EW difference when calculating Newt. So that all worked out. Now that there are two of those, my brain will kick in here anytime. Now that the 2 YPGBs are destroyed and there's only 2 in play, producing 2 points of EW, and assuming the scout remains and produces the maximum amount of EW, then that'll be 4 points of EW versus the 2 of the Klingons, which means there are 2 points of EW in play, which I believe, if I look back at the new table, will mean there is no EW shift. Now that I've asked that question, I'm going to look it up in real time, live for you, because this is the kind of value I want to provide you. There we go. Boom. Oh, no, I'm wrong. Look at that. So let's pull up here we go. I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so this is the Newt table, 313.21. So you can see here if there's a shift of 0 to 1, there is no EW shift. If there is a shift of 2 to 4, there is a 1 EW shift. And if there is more than 5 in the difference, then it's a 2 EW shift. So the 6, by example, would have been 2. But because I was producing enough EW to drop it down, here we are. So there we are. That's the way that looks when it comes to, to all that. So, right. I think in my speedy notes, I may not have included the EW instructions. As I mentioned, as I think about it now, I will have to follow up, Daniel, with my EW instructions as they were in my previous orders and so on and so forth. Well, I'll follow up with that afterwards. My goodness, what an interesting live stream today. We're all over the place, or I'm all over the place. Goodness gracious. Let me take a quick swig of the agua. Wet my whistle. All right. So what have we talked about today? We've talked about the planetary ground bases. We've talked about the multi-system assaults. We've talked about capital assaults, the EW involved, and the convoluted, complicated, and just frustrating process that is assaulting the capital. And how much, and you've seen how much it bogs down turns. We've had this turn sort of in play for over a week, and we still haven't got it resolved. Why? Because this guy had the audacity to attack the Romulan capital and just had to blow everything up. Good job, Tony. Great. Well, we've highlighted, shone light on, illustrated the fact that we need to get a better system for capital assaults, as the case may be. So I will take that blame. Bring on the shade. Because we need to figure out a better way to be able to do these capital assaults and figure it out forward in future games, that is, so that it's not so cumbersome, that it allows the flow of the game to carry on, that we can have fun doing it, and that we're having a good time. And that's one of the great things about this community, and why I thank all of you for being a part of it. Dr. Death 43 and all of our subscribers, all of you who are playing, and all of you who want to play. Because it is through you, through engaging with you, participating with you, having those discussions with you on Discord, sort of virtually in person, and exploring what it is that we're doing here, that we're having fun, that we're polishing, perfecting, adjusting what it is that we're doing so we can have the best gaming experience. Because I'll tell you, this guy, where I live, can find very few people to be able to play this game. And certainly, if you were to play this in real time, in real life, with a tabletop and so on, this game takes forever. If you've ever played games like Civ or Masters of Orion, those games take forever to play. And if you were going to play a multiplayer version of it, like Civ 6 or 5, they have multiplayer versions or multiplayer options. They take forever. You like half a day to play those games sometimes. It's ridiculous. And very few people have the patience to be able to do that. The way we've had this game playing right now is that you might spend an hour. Some people spend more. You might spend less time sorting out your turn and submitting it to the GM. And then the GM processes the turn. You get it back less than a week or a week later, and you move on. And that cadence of about a week is good because it, wets your whistle, gets you anticipating the next turn. And we quite literally have had players jonesing for the next turn because of the sort of delayed gratification, that anticipation, that excitement about what comes next. And that's fun. That's where we get the pleasure out of this game. Not only the interaction, and of course the resolving of the conflict and this and that and the other thing, but just that anticipation, and then the payoff of getting the turn and seeing what happened and so on and so forth, right? But you got to maintain a certain cadence to it. You got to maintain regularity to it, and it's got to be at a magic pace and or number where people will still stay engaged. And we've found that to be about a week. We could do it maybe a little bit faster if we, didn't do other things in our course of our day and our lives. But that's where we're at. So for you as part of the community, as those who want to play and who do play, what works best for you? Do you want to see a faster cadence in the next game? If we want that, we're going to have to find easier and better ways to be able to process this game. And if you want more detailed and sort of like complicated layers, like we talked about with capital assaults, then maybe we don't resolve turns in a week, which I personally find a little bit too long. You know what I mean? So, anywho, with all that said, what are your 2 cents? I know we talked about a lot today when it comes to the rules, style of play, cadence of play, what we want out of the game, and so on and so forth. What about you? What do you want? How do you want to play? How much fun do you want to have? What does that look like for you? You tell us. And I'm going to send this shout out to ADB. If you know somebody at ADB, if you are part of ADB, if you can reach out, knock on their door, poke and prod them, or what have you, ADB, we love this game. We enjoy this game. We want this game to be successful, but it is not right now. And we need ways to be able to play this game that make it more streamlined, more easier to play. What tools can we create to do that? How can we create, how can we make this better for everybody? How can we improve the player experience so that we all enjoy it more, want to play it more, get people sort of hooked on playing this game. Because God knows there's so many of us Trek fans out there, and even just sci-fi strategy game fans who just like love this stuff. The popularity of Strange New Worlds right now, or Picard before the last season anyway, and the plethora of Trek-based stuff that's out there. We've got the fan base. We've got the people who enjoy this stuff. So let's find a way to make this better. Let's find a way to make this fun for everyone and attract more folks to enjoy this game. All right. That's enough preaching on my soapbox. I'll get off it for now. I'm going to slide into our Discord channels where I'm going to powwow and persevere through what will obviously be some exciting conversations about this very live stream. If that is something that you want to do, then please head over to coffee.com, hit that donation button on the Discord and Coffee tier so that you can join us in there, participate in those conversations, and so on and so forth. And of course, if you support us on Coffee, then you are first in line to be able to join in the next campaign whenever that starts. Now, of course, because I can't kill the Romulans as quickly as I would like, curses, the next game may not be as quick as one might think it could be. But we'll get there, one way or another. Everyone will gang up and kill the Klingons, woohoo! Or the Klingons will persevere and maybe take out the Romulans. I don't know. We'll see. Anywho, I joke, I kid, I fun for fun. So let's have a good time in the Discord. If you haven't joined us there, then please feel free. Please consider doing so. And if that's not just up your cup of tea, my goodness, can't even come up with catchphrases. If that's not your cup of tea, then feel free just to hit the subscribe button, maybe hit the thumbs up if you like what we're doing here. If you stayed this long in the live stream and that's what you like to do, then please feel free to do those things. Otherwise, I will see you next Saturday on this very channel at 11 o'clock Pacific time, and we can talk about the results of the Romulan Homeworld Assault and how things are moving forward. Let's see how hardcore we can get with this good time in the galaxy. All right, with that said, thank you so much. I will see you next week. Bye-bye for now. Ciao. That was a teaser. Here's the real one.